Do you feel that worry dominates you? As if it has settled into your daily life and you no longer know what it would be like to live without it. It takes away your calm, hinders your decisions, and whispers in your ear every time you try to move forward. But what if I told you that worry is nothing more than an illusion, a creation of our mind that can be unraveled, understood, and left behind? In this video, we will delve into the thoughts of Carl Jung, one of the most influential figures in psychology, to explore his revolutionary ideas on how to free ourselves from the burden of worry. Stay until the end, because the last concept we will see could radically change the way you face life. Let's start with an essential idea from Jung. Worry often arises from an internal fracture, an imbalance between who we think we should be and who we really are. But where does that constant unease come from? According to Jung, many of our worries have their roots in an internal conflict. On one hand, there is the conscious mind, that part of you that follows rules, goals, and duties. And on the other, the unconscious, which holds your deepest emotions, your repressed desires, your wounds. When these two parts are not aligned, friction arises, and that friction manifests as worry. Jung referred to that hidden part of us as the shadow self. It is that side we avoid looking at, that we prefer to deny or keep silent. Imagine, for example, that you feel constant anxiety at work. On the surface, it seems like a fear of not performing well enough. But if you go deeper, if you observe honestly, what if that anxiety is actually a reflection of a repressed desire to do something completely different? Perhaps you long for autonomy, a change of direction, or simply a break. However, your conscious part insists that you must succeed, meet expectations, follow the plan. This clash between the deep impulse and the external mandate is what fuels worry. And according to Jung, the solution is not to ignore it, but to make the unconscious conscious. The famous shadow work he proposed involves recognizing those parts we hide, the unexpressed emotions, the postponed dreams, the silenced needs. When you integrate your shadow, when you give it a voice, something within you is released. The tension that fueled your unease begins to dissolve. Now let's move on to another key point, the mirage of control. Many times, worrying is just a desperate attempt to control what we cannot control. Jung said that this need to have everything under control is an automatic response of our psyche when it feels insecure. Instead of accepting uncertainty, the mind clings to worry as if it were a compass. But the truth is that the future is never completely under our control. Pause and think. How many times have you mentally exhausted yourself imagining scenarios that never happened? How much energy did you invest in preparing for the worst, only to find out it wasn't necessary? Jung interpreted this as a defense of the ego, that part of us that wants to protect itself at all costs. The problem is that by constantly anticipating danger, the ego keeps us on high alert, even when there is no real threat. The most curious thing is that by trying to avoid suffering, we end up trapped in it. Jung invites us to something different, to surrender to the flow of life, to trust that there is a deeper order that, although we do not fully understand, is there. Instead of resisting, learn to listen. Instead of controlling, learn to let go. Because only by stopping the fight with uncertainty can we experience true peace. Synchronicity, when life speaks to you without words. One of the most enigmatic and revealing contributions of Carl Jung is the concept of synchronicity. Have you ever experienced a moment of doubt, and just then something happens that seems to have a hidden message for you? It's not a coincidence. Jung spoke of meaningful coincidences, events that occur in parallel to your inner world and seem to offer you guidance. Although they may seem like simple coincidences, they are much more than that. Imagine you are considering leaving your job to start your own project. You are filled with uncertainty and anxiety, and suddenly, while you are waiting in line at a cafe, you hear someone behind you recount how they quit their job and now live more aligned with what they love to do. That scene may seem fortuitous, but in Jung's view, it is a message, a sign, a silent yes from the universe. Synchronicity shows us that we are not alone or lost, but rather that we are part of an invisible fabric that connects us with what we need to hear or see. When we live in a state of constant worry, we overlook these signals. Our minds are so busy projecting catastrophic futures that they become incapable of noticing what life is showing us. Jung invites us to let go of that mental rigidity and open ourselves to a deeper perception. As we learn to be present, we begin to notice these winks from the universe. A book that comes into your hands just when you need it. A conversation that offers you clarity. A phrase on a sign that seems to respond to your innermost thought. They are not accidents. They are synchronicities. And these moments, when we recognize them, remind us of something essential, that there is a greater order at work, even if we do not fully understand it. That there is an intelligence behind what we call chance, and that, when we stop resisting and start trusting, everything becomes clearer, more fluid. Individuation, the path back to yourself. At the center of Jungian psychology is a profoundly transformative concept, individuation. This process is nothing more than becoming who you truly are. Not the you that fits in, pleases, or conforms to others' expectations, but the authentic being that exists beyond all that. And here comes something powerful. Jung did not speak of perfection. It is not about eliminating flaws or reaching an ideal. Rather, it is about integrating all your parts, light and shadow, to live with greater internal coherence. When you embark on this path, you begin to see worry from a different perspective. It is no longer a monster you must defeat, but an indicator that you are disconnected from your essence. Why do we worry so much about what others think, about whether we measure up, about whether we are doing it right? Because we have adopted molds that do not belong to us. Let's take a clear example. Imagine someone who lives in fear of others criticizing their lifestyle. Perhaps they chose not to have children, or decided to move to the countryside, or left a stable career to pursue something they love. Inside, that person may feel peace, but the worry about external judgment gnaws at them. Through the process of individuation, that person begins to see that their worth does not depend on social consensus. They start to trust their inner voice, and from there, what was once worry transforms into conviction, into clarity, into strength. When you recognize yourself as you are and accept all your parts, even those you previously rejected, you stop struggling to fit in and begin to live from a deeper place. Jung said that the more you align with your authentic self, the less room worry has to settle in. Because you are no longer trying to fulfill someone else's script. You are writing your own. And in that process, synchronicity becomes a constant companion. Because by being in tune with yourself, you are also in tune with life. Therefore, how to let go of worry. Practical tools from Jungian psychology. The teachings of Carl Jung are not just ideas to think about. They are maps to transform the way we live. It is not enough to understand why we worry. We need to learn to act from a different place. So, if you are ready to move from understanding to experience, here are some powerful practices you can start integrating from today. First, illuminate your shadow. Jung insisted that part of our anxiety comes from what we do not want to see in ourselves. What's the solution? Do shadow work. Take a notebook and start by writing down your most frequent worries. Then ask yourself this question. What part of me is speaking through this worry? Perhaps behind the fear of rejection lies a part that longs to belong, or hidden behind the fear of failure is a deep desire for recognition. It's not about judging yourself, but about approaching yourself with the same curiosity you would have for a close friend. The shadow is not an enemy. It is a part of you that only asks to be heard. Second, conscious silence. Meditate, breathe, observe. Jung believed that self-knowledge requires moments of deep introspection. Meditation and mindfulness are not spiritual luxuries, they are exercises in mental hygiene. Spend a few minutes each day sitting in silence, without trying to change anything. Just breathe and observe your thoughts passing by, as if they were clouds. When a worry arises, do not cling to it. Imagine it floating downstream, like a leaf gently carried away by the water. This simple practice can deactivate the mental storm in a matter of minutes and bring you back to the now, the only place where you can make real decisions. Third, pay attention to the signs of the universe. Synchronicities, those magical moments when everything seems to align, do not occur amidst mental noise. They happen when you are present. Start noticing the little winks that life gives you. A book that appears just when you need it. An unexpected conversation that resonates with what you are experiencing. A song that seems to speak to you. Instead of ignoring these moments, honor their significance. Take them as little lights that illuminate your path. The more attentive you are, the more you will notice that you are not navigating alone. Fourth, living from the authentic. Ask yourself this question. Am I making decisions based on what I truly want or on what others expect of me? Worry often arises when we are disconnected from our authenticity, when we force ourselves to follow a path that we do not feel is ours. Remember, the more you live in alignment with your values, the less energy you lose to anxiety. You don't need to please everyone. You just need to be true to yourself. And when you do, something profound changes. You feel lighter, more focused, more at peace. And the final twist, concern as a guide, not as an enemy. And here comes the revelation that can transform everything. Worry is not proof that you are responsible. It is not a sign that you are taking good care of everything. It is an invitation, a sign that there is something in your inner world that is asking for attention. When you learn to listen to that call instead of repressing it, something is released. You no longer need to live in the hypothetical future where everything can go wrong. You can inhabit the present, and from there, live with more presence, more clarity, and more power. Because when you let go of worry, you open up space. Space for creativity, for joy, for real growth. And there, in that fertile ground, a life is born that is not only lighter, but also more authentic, richer, and more yours. If this video gave you something to think or feel about, subscribe so you don't miss the upcoming content and activate the notification bell. And tell me in the comments, what is it that you are ready to stop worrying about? Just imagine, what would your life be like right now if you had never let yourself get caught up in worry? What would you have done, said, or felt if you had trusted yourself and the process? That version of you is not lost. It is waiting. So take a deep breath, let go of the need to control everything, and allow yourself to return to you. As Jung taught, the answers you seek so much are not outside. They already live within you.